Hello everyone, this is Jim. Welcome back to Sunrise Farm. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and plant what you see in front of you, which is our fall cabbages. It's a nice cool October morning, and we have this 162 cell tray that we've planted out. I don't know exactly how many plants we have. If you've ever planted a seed tray, obviously you know you don't get 100% germination, but on the other hand, there's generally at least 2, maybe 3 seeds per cell. So there's multiple germs in there. So how many total plants we currently have, I'm not certain. These plants were started in actuality just slightly over 7 weeks ago. Quite frankly, they should have been in the ground a week or two ago, but I had some physical back issues and it prevented me from really getting in the garden, getting it prepped, and getting to the point where I could plant. However, today we're going to go ahead and get them planted. So when you do a grow out, which is the way that I prefer to do most of my plants, you get these nice little plant root balls. And as you can see by even me pulling that out, it's not really terribly root wrapped yet. So that actually is a blessing. I was afraid it was going to be a little more damaged than that, but that's good. And as you can see, we will plant these, and I'll show you how I've prepped the ground and what I've done so we can plant them. This particular variety of cabbage is called Copenhagen. And so we're going to see what kind of yield we get. It takes somewhere around 85 to 100 days, depending on, ground temperature and overall temperature and what types of fertilizers, since these take a lot of nitrogen fertilizers, and we'll be doing that through our fertilizer injector through our drip tape, which I'll show you part of the setup. So anyway, let me go ahead and turn you around and show you the row prep that I've done, and we'll get started with today's planting of this cabbage. All right, so here's a little higher elevation view of the rows that I have prepped at the moment. I actually have 7 rows prepped. For the cabbage we're getting ready to plant, which is sitting over here in the tractor that I just showed you, we're probably only going to use a maximum of 2 rows. These rows are about 40 to 45 feet long. I wasn't precise in how long they were. We're going to be over the winter, late fall, winter months, very early spring months. We're going to be changing up how we've laid out our entire plots here, and we're going to be adding a bunch of long 50-foot raised beds. So we're going to be making some serious changes because we are going to be taking this quite seriously so we can produce a lot of food for a farm market plus our community. We want to really do an outreach ministry of a first fruits ministry to help people in need. So at any rate, right here will be the first row of cabbage, and then over here will be the second. But if you can tell, I have set these up with drip tape. Over there is my Haas double wheel hoe, and I first made a furrow, and then I flipped the plow blades around to cover the drip tape. So in some of the next few videos, what you'll be seeing planting here will be things like collard greens, some lettuces. I have broccoli, cauliflower, a couple of different varieties of cabbages. And then about a month from now, in the middle of November or so, we'll be planting some onions as well, in more area than this. This is only going to house so much. But at any rate, we're going to be planting the cabbage, right, like I said, on this row and this row. And so let's go ahead and take you in closer and get started. So here's the double wheel hoe that I use by Haas Tools, and it has the plow set on it. And so let me just show you how that ends up being an effect for how we're going to plant. So here you can see we've set up 7 rows so far for some of our fall crops to get planted. Here's the cabbage that we're going to be planting today, and here's the first row, well, the first 2 rows, if you will, that we're going to be planting. And when you can see that I have the main line and I have the drip tape already down and run. So what was done is here I created a furrow, using the plow set in a furrowing position on the double wheel hoe. Then I flipped it around with the plow set and covered the drip tape up. Now when you cover the drip tape up, it creates 2 mini furrows that are about 11 inches apart. You have a little variance in how you close you set them up, but in my case about 11 inches apart. And as you can see, hopefully you can see this in the video that good, but it creates 2 mini furrows. And so in those mini furrows for this Copenhagen cabbage, we are going to be planting them on a double row, but in a zigzag format. So let me show you what we're going to do. All right, so I've turned the water on so we can get the drip emitters to start flowing, and they'll create some water spots here in about probably 20-30 minutes. Sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on how the ground is already wet or dry. Mine's a little moist right now from some previous rain and early morning dew. So anyway, I'm going to take my cabbage plants and I'm going to start pulling them out of the seed trays, and I'm going to go ahead and lay them along the ditch, just kind of roughly dropping them where I want them to be. And that way I can come back and gives me a few minutes to wait on the drip tape to start showing up with the water spots. So let me go ahead and start those. And these trays, while these trays are very stout, awesome, they're by ProTech. I also happen to have gotten them from Haas Tools. They are, when they are completely full like this, a little heavy. Now you don't have to worry about plants falling out. You can carry them just like I've got it in my hand right here. But I'm just saying, they can be a little heavy. So clearly, when there's only one seeded plant, that's where we're gonna begin. So I'm just gonna start taking the ones that have a single germ, and I'm gonna pull them out so that I can drop them about every foot. This particular drip tape I'm using has 1 foot emitter spacing. And so we're gonna plant them on 1 foot. In fact, I was already messing up. I was thinking about collards. But we're gonna be planting on 1 foot in a zigzag pattern. So in reality, it's going to go one side of the drip tape in that mini furrow, then the other side of the drip tape a foot later in that mini furrow, and back and forth. So that one should be over there, that one should be over there, this one should be over there. And in effect, what you're going to end up doing by doing it this way is you're going to create around 16 or so inches of actual diagonal space between the plants. So you actually create a little extra space for the plants themselves. Now you see me kind of dropping these, and to be honest, they're pretty hardy at this point, so there's not a lot of risk or worry about breaking them. So once you've gotten it this far where you've got your setup and you've got your seedlings and your starts, if you will, people call them some various names. But these, once they start going in the ground, it becomes a pretty easy process. You just simply find the first emitter. Yeah, the first one's actually here, but I'm not going to plant that close to the end. All right, so if that's my first emitter, and this is my little mini furrow, we're just going to plant it in there and cover it up. And so I'll come down and find that, not the next emitter, basically on one side, I guess I should have clarified that. On one side, I'm planting the plants every 2 feet apart. That's how it ends up being in a zigzag fashion. So here was an emitter there's a plant. Here's an emitter 2 feet away, here's a plant. Here's the emitter at 1 foot in between those two, so it'll go in this side of the row. And so that way, like I said, I have a zigzag pattern of how to plant these. And so I'm getting them, basically every 1 foot spacing is what I'm getting them, but I'm doing it on opposite sides of the drip tape. And as you plant them, if you have any bad leaves, you just clean them up then. All right, well, you have the idea. Let me go ahead and plant the rest of them. So in case you didn't already know this, all the brassicas require a lot of heavy feeding, but that is a term for basically a lot of water, and in this case a lot of nitrogen as well. All right, that is one row down. Go back to the beginning. I had already turned the water on for the second row, so prayerfully it will go a little smoother. So there you can see we have our 2 full rows planted. So let me just give you a closer look at it. So again, they are planted on double row as far as it is on the drip tape, yes. But they are planted 2 feet apart on both sides with stagger planting. So in row, if you will, so from this one to this one is 2 feet, and from this one to this one is 2 feet, but from here to here ends up being about 16 inches, which is good spacing for cabbage. So this is a way to maximize your row spacing. All right, we are done planting our cabbage, and this is what the seed tray looks like after we're done. I counted them off camera. We have 46 plants per row. So that's a total of 92 plants in the ground. Again, it's doubtful that all of them will make it and see it through. And so these that remain are all doubles, and I'm going to separate them out and put them in small pots so that I can go ahead and have my seed tray back but also to see if I can get them to transplant and grow, and thus if I have a couple that don't fully grow out and die out, or animals get them, or whatever the case is, disease, I will have a few to replace them, and they'll still be in a good growing stage. So there's only a handful left, because as you can also see by the amount of dirt with open space, there was a whole bunch that didn't germinate. But, so this is a 162 cell tray, and we'd still have, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, that's actually a single I missed, 9, 11, 12, 13. We have 14 plants, potential plants left that we're going to up pot. So we planted 92, and we have 14, so that's 108, or 106, excuse me. Do the math better, be all right. So 106. So that means a whole bunch didn't germinate. And some of them weren't viable either. Some of them were just, they probably got covered out and didn't grow in a good enough fashion in the tray, so some of them weren't viable plants. At any rate, I highly recommend still doing this way in transplanting. In our case, I live in zone 8B, and for fall plants, we really need to start them in some cases as early as mid-August, but certainly in September. These were actually started. All right, let's try that again. These were actually started on the 26th of August. So a little more than 7 weeks in actuality. But that'll just tell you what we do down here, and then how I went about planting it. And planting it on drip tape so that I can water it and fertilize it through the injector. Let me show you something I noticed when I was counting the plants off camera. Somehow I made a mental mistake when I was looking at this, and whether it was distraction of making the video or not. Instead of, you can see those two plants are 1 foot apart on the same side. So instead of that plant being over there and then consequently vice versa, somehow I planted those two side by side and then started my offset again. Well, I'm not about to fix all that. I mean, it's fine. It'll just grow that way, and maybe a couple of heads won't be as big as the others. That's probable anyways. So I thought you'd get a quick chuckle out of my, you might have even noticed it when I was walking down the road filming. I didn't notice it till I was counting them, but you might get a quick chuckle out of my mental faux pas there. Anyway, it'll be fine. It's gardening, so you do tend to make some mistakes, and your rows don't get straight, and weather affects you, and physical ailments affect you, so you have to make do with what you got sometimes. I just want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was something of interest to you on how I planted my cabbage this fall, and I would really appreciate your comments. Let me know how you plant them wherever you live, and how it has to go for you in what season. We plant them through fall, kind of overwinter them. We can go ahead and plant them again early spring. Like I said, cabbages, or at least this variety of cabbage, takes a long time anyway. It can have some pretty big heads. But I'd really appreciate your comments, and just to know what you thought about the video, what if you like doing it just on cabbage. I'm going to try to do one for each one of the, you saw where I have 7 rows prepped at the moment. Well, I'm going to end up having about 14, 15 rows prepped here over the next week or so. But as I continue to plant these out in their various varieties, I'm going to do separate videos on them. I think sometimes it's better to have separate videos per plant, just to show the differences. And so the next video will probably be collards. But I just wanted to thank you again for stopping by. Please keep us in your prayers and pray for us. We need a lot of prayer for this farm to work, a lot of prayer for the ministry we want to do for it, and just your support would be great. So in that regards, if I can be so bold as to ask, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Give us a like, a thumbs up if you will, and share it with your friends, and hit the bell notification. Hit this bell notification right here, actually. Hit that bell notification, and yeah, that way you'll get notified when we make new videos. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching again. Take care, and God bless you. Have an amazing day in the Lord.